Okay, so welcome everybody. We're going to do hands-on creating wizard with programmable user interface. And my name is Mark Custer. I'm an instructor. I'm quite over-certified, or at least I've got some. And Will is going to be my driver. I have some helpers. Can you raise your hand? So we're going to do hands-on on creating a wizard. We're going to do some controllers, some Visualforce pages, so do not hesitate, ask the helpers if you need them. I also have a TAEs. Can you raise your hand? So if you need to know more about our training, because this is just a fraction of the current training, I will recommend you to go back to her, and she will help you, and so on. I guess we all have seen the safe harbor. May I skip it and just let you agree that you read it and confirm and so on? So, most important thing is we all need to use an org. So I would like all of you to try to log in using this admin at df09 wizards. And then the 3 number that you can find on your upper corner of your screen should be 00 something or 01 or I don't know. .com, and the password is password1 in lowercase. Not 1, it's password1. Okay? You may be familiar with that. And if you have any trouble to log in, raise your hand. Let's really raise it so that we can see it. I've got 2 people here. 3. Sorry? It's written on the slides. It's admin at df09 wizards. 3-digit number. The password is password1, lowercase. Someone just here? Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're all set. So let's go to the next one, which is the agenda. So I'm going to talk about Visualforce. I'm going to try to talk briefly about Visualforce controllers, but I still need to explain you all these concepts because maybe you have never ever done any Visualforce or any controllers. And then after that, we will start to do this exercise, which is all about creating a wizard. We will use the Eclipse by using the force.com IDE together. And then we'll do that lovely wizard exercise. And if we have time, and I guess we will, I will also talk about the unit tests. Because I guess that certainly lots of you are just here just to see how we do unit tests on controllers. Okay? Still people having trouble to log in, I guess? Yes, password 1. Yeah. Okay, let me keep going. So, Visualforce authorize you to do your own custom user interface on any devices. Okay, I'm not going to pitch you that slides during 15 minutes. I think you're all aware of this. I'm going to keep going on this because Visualforce has 3 key components. The first one are the pages. That's where we're going to be able to put the code. In order to generate that code, we need some components, also known as tags, right? So you're going to be able to use some of our tags to generate your own tags. And also, this is quite key, you're going to use some controllers. And those controllers are usually requesting you to write down some Apex. I say usually because you may use our standard controllers, and therefore you don't need to know anything about Apex. But today we'll do some controllers, so we'll have to know some Apex. Okay? Some of the key benefits is why would you use Salesforce Visualforce? Well, because it's on the same platform. So you don't need to care about how to get access to the database. You don't need to care about upgrades. Lots of good things are just provided by default. All you need to do is think about the pages, what you have to try, or what you want to achieve. Okay? I hope that some of you have heard about the MVC model. Yeah? Who have? MVC? Makes sense for some of you? So I guess the Visualforce is going with the view, and the controllers are the controllers, and the model is the data model. Okay? Let's keep going. This is a very important slide because I realize that a huge amount of developers are jumping straight to Visualforce and Apex in order to achieve what they have to do. And I think this is not always what you should do. You should think about this first. Are you okay with the look and feel that we provide you? Therefore, you may not need to do any Visualforce. Maybe the behavior is very standard. So you don't need to do anything. Oh, I said you don't need to do anything as a developer. Maybe you just would like to customize some behavior without changing anything in the user interface. Then I guess you go with some triggers and Apex code. Right? But maybe you would like to customize the look and feel. Maybe just this. Just changing the way you represent the data. Nothing to do with the behavior. Just using a standard controller without knowing anything about Apex. But today, we go straight to where I said you shouldn't go straight. This means we're going to do Visualforce pages and some custom Apex controller because we're going to try to implement our own business logic. Okay? So, controllers. What are they? Controllers are just Apex classes, right? Where typically you're going to need to interact with the user interface. You're going to need to interact with the data by using some getters and setters in order to get the information from the end user and set it into the database. Also, you will have to pay attention to some actions. People want to save. Maybe they want to go to the next page. That's the kind of thing that the controller is offering you. So you will have to perform this. Maybe you don't need to code if you use the standard controller, but if you use your own controller, you will have to do that by yourself. Okay? Let's go to the next one. I already mentioned that there are different types of controllers. There are the standard controllers, the one that is given for free for you, where you don't need any Apex knowledge, right? But some of you will certainly create some custom controllers. Like if you would like to create a user interface and offer a new search engine, right? You're going to start from scratch. You don't need any information. You have to do all the job. So you may use a custom controllers. And also maybe all you want is to get the most of what you can get, which is using an extensions, right? You don't want to change the save process. You just want to do some extra business requirement. Lots of you will certainly just create extension because an extension can work with a controller. That could be a standard one or a custom one. And the wizard that we're going to create today is a controller that has an extension. So I will explain exactly how that works all together. Okay? So, something quite important is in each controller you're going to get, you're going to have to do some getters and setters or some properties. I will say it's more up to you. We will see there's different way to code that, but basically you have to get and set all the data. Okay? Next one. So, from the controller, we're going to be able to link with the Visualforce. So if I think that this is my controller, I can talk with my Visualforce pages, right? With my getters and setters. Each time I have an input field, I will get it and maybe set it in the database, right? But also I'm going to try to interact, to set proceed. To be able to generate this, I can create some Apex command buttons, maybe a link. Maybe I just want to pull the data every 10 seconds. Maybe I prefer to just refresh my page by getting some data. Or maybe I would like to use some JavaScript interactions. I don't want people to click. I want to act when they do not click or if they double click only. Okay? Therefore, you have 5 different commands that you can use in Visualforce pages to find out what you try to achieve. And all those commands can use an action. And that action has to be defined in your controller. I'm doing the next page. I want to do this. And then everything works together. You have always the link, right? The Visualforce tag will call your action, and that call the method inside your class, right? I think we can go to the next one. And the next one is I start saying we have two components. We have the controllers and we have the Visualforce pages. Now we can interact, right? You can enter data, I can collect the data. You can click, I can move you. No, I can just get information. If we start using page reference object, we have the right from the controller to start interacting with the Visualforce pages, right? You're going to use an action button that says, move me to the next page. This means the controller is in charge of changing the URL. That's why you're going to use a page reference, where you're going to say, if the action is this one, next, I would like programmatically to move you to that page. That could be a Visualforce pages, that could be any pages, right? As I said, that could be any pages. Once you have your controller having a page reference, it can move you to the same page by using current page. Sometimes you just want to refresh the page. You don't need to do a wizard all day long. Sometimes you would like to move to the next page, and you will just use page.name of your Visualforce pages. Or maybe you would like to be moved to a record in edit mode, so maybe a slash, 15-digit /e. Or maybe you just would like to go somewhere else by throwing a full URL. It's really up to you. Okay? Let's keep going. So once you define in the controller where you want to go, we need now to think about something that is quite crucial, and especially in controllers for Wizard. Each time you start having a controller, we get a view state, like a cache memory where we start storing all this information. And the question is, if I move you to another one page, do you want to keep this information with you? Yes or no? If you think you've done, maybe you don't need that. Then you will use that set redirect to true, that flush the view states, because you don't need it anymore. But if you do a real wizard, which is people entering some information on page 1, then moving on page 2, then moving on page 3, you want certainly to keep that information with you, because you have that view states, and also you have a mechanism to step back and to change that. You don't want to commit anything on the database. That's the purpose of a wizard. We just commit at the end. We have users that are crazy, they're going to change their mind, step back, try to hijack everything. So we keep that in our view states, and we just flush at the end, usually after the save, right? So it's quite important that you realize that you can do this. Because you're going to have some actions that are page reference. You will need to return a page. That could be go to the page 2. Also, you can still communicate with the URL. You have the rights to do get parameters in order to collect some information that the end user, through some mechanism, are going to provide you through the URL. So you have real options to communicate from the controller to the Visualforce pages. Okay? Next. Now, I've been talking about Visualforce and controllers. I will be like extremely like Mac or Apple. Let's just like zoom now on the controllers, right? We have controllers. I may have a standard controller, okay? But I may have any controllers. What's going on here is I may also have a controller and an extension, right? It's not because you call it an extension that it extends that class by default. You have to help us on that. You have to combine these two classes together. So if you start having an extension, right, you will have that class. Let's name it my extension. You will have to create a properties that will have the same name, my extension dot my extension. And that method will authorize us to talk to the standard controller. Why? Because the standard controller is also talking to the Visualforce pages, is aware of the records. So you may want, with your custom extension, to talk to the standard one. What for? To provide extra logic, right? I don't want to save. I want to check some extra data. So I'm going to connect to my data by calling, this is on line number 3, public my controller extension, Apex page, standard controller. I make the connection to my standard controller. Once this connection exists, then I can say, hey, maybe you get a record from the end user. give it to me. That's line number 4. You can ask the standard controller to get the current record. What for? Well, I don't know yet. I just want to get the current view state and understand what's going on. Okay? So you can combine that together in order to get one unique process. Okay? So, wizards. I used to say wizards are wizards. This means you have to click everywhere. I'm not a big fan of wizard by default, but I guess what is very good is that the end user prefers the wizards than clicking on all tabs, right? So more and more, we're going to provide you that kind of behavior. You're not going to click from one tab to another one tab and so on. Just build a wizard. So, on the wizard, can you just step back? Because you were just fast. I just forget to say something. What's going on the wizard is exactly as I said before. You want to collect all this information. You want to keep that information alive across all your pages. Therefore, you're going to use one controller. Because the controller can keep the view state. I can talk to the interface. Users are changing their mind. They do not commit. So you keep that with one unique controller. Now you can go on the next one. Sorry. So that makes sense that a wizard is going to use lots of page references because, remember, the controller is now in charge of moving to the next pages. Right? We don't want the user to click on tabs. By the way, when you click on a tab, you use a standard controller. That makes the query for you. Right? By the way, you use controller all day long. Even if you don't know Apex, even if you don't want. Everything is done by controllers. Right? So, let's go on the next one, which is the ID. As I was saying, we're very addicted to develop in a development environment, and therefore we will use Eclipse. Eclipse should be installed on your computers. You should have an hyperlink on the desktop, right? And have you already used Eclipse under force.com IDE? Who has? Oh, that's good. Okay. So, before you click everywhere, we're going to do, in a few moments, this exercise, right? This exercise is all about a wizard. I'm going just to ask you one favor is, I don't want you to type everything, right? And maybe you don't want to type everything too. So if you can just go on your desktop, there should be a folder name, I guess, Introduction Wizard to or with Programmable User Interface. Yeah, creating wizard with Programmable User Interface. There is a zip file. If you don't mind, feel free to unzip it. Right? And we will reuse all those pages in the following minutes. Okay? Can we come back to the slides? Because I guess I have to introduce the exercise or something like that. Yeah. So, as most of you already used the Eclipse, I guess this is going to be very fast. We're just going to create the project in the Eclipse IDE, right? So that we can start working because we're going to do some controllers, we're going to do some Visualforce pages. Okay? So I'm just going to take my exercises in order to see if it's okay. So, we're going all to do this exercise 1 together. So let's go to the desktop, and there should be this Eclipse 3.4.2 shortcut, right? Feel free to double-click on it. And then we have a break, 2 minutes. No, we don't do break, but we still have to wait. Just a few seconds. Okay. Right now, I guess we should click on File, New Project. Okay. If you have any trouble, just raise your hand. I still have my helpers, and they are willing to help you. Okay. So, force.com project. Project name will be Dreamforce Wizard. Or if you prefer to type the official one, Dreamforce 09 Wizard Hands-On, up to you. For the username, you better type your login name. So admin at df09 wizard, then your 3-digit number, .com, and your password is still password 1, right? This environment is a production environment, so there's nothing to change. We just should click on Next. Then there will be a connection to the database. Then the system is just offering us to collect Apex and Visualforce classes. There are some helpers here. And that should be OK. Just going to wait before we click on Finish. Some people seem to have some trouble. Which documentation? The exercise? Oh, yeah, you're right. It's wizards. 1 point for you. Are you certified? You should. Because you're ready to. I will certify you. Have you attended any training? You should. Good. Are you willing to do Dev 401, something like that? Developer? Yeah. Developer 401? You should try that one. And then 501? Who is certified as a developer? Woo! As an advanced developer? It's very hard to be advanced developer certified. There are just a few windows. The next Windows is in, I guess, January, right? We hope it's in January. Okay? So, everybody still with me? Let's all click on Finish, so that then the system is able to gather all this information, and that we can perform the next exercises. Okay. So maybe you can expand the project just to ensure we get all what we expect. Okay. So, you should get already some pages. Okay, I will explain that a little bit. And there shouldn't be any classes. I don't need to check. There is no way to expand that, so it's okay. Okay? Yeah? So let's come back to the slides. And we're going to do really what we all hope we're going to do, which is at least doing something that is going to work. So before that, okay, because this is a complex exercise, I just would like Will to log in into another one org, and you just watch the screen. I just want to let you know what we're going to do. Okay? So, and also introduce you to Chatter, if you haven't. Okay. So, this wizard that we're going to do, okay, is to avoid people that are using a recruiting app. So maybe you're already aware of the recruiting app? Yes? No? Never heard about that? So basically what we have is we have candidates and we have positions, right? So when a candidate is trying to get a job, someone needs to create a job application, right? If you, on your application here, are trying to do this, you will need to go into new job application. You will have to remember which position, and you will have to have created the candidate before. This is not user-friendly, I mean, according to me. What we're going to try to do is this. When you're going to click on New Job Application, well, you're just going to be able to generate some information, like the status. Let's go for Open, and the stage is New. And then all you need to remember is the position. I know one. DBA. Yeah, it's a shorter one. I like that one. Right? It's nothing about that. Whew, you were too fast. We haven't had time to enjoy that moment. Where's the save button, Will? Okay, there is no save button, right? Remember, that's what we're going to try to achieve. A wizard with a next button, okay, that are going to talk to my controller that will say, let's proceed, Will. That will move me to a lovely page. Or maybe, yeah, it's lovely. Because I don't know at that time if I know the candidate or not. So maybe I'm going to search for the candidate, right? Let's search for Joe. I think we have some Joe. J-O. I guess so. Or there was some. Okay? Same thing. This is a search button. This is not the search button that we have in the bottom. Oh, I have some Joe. I can select it. And then, oh, did you click a button this time? No. We move straight. Ah, there was no need. A different way to move to the next pages. Okay? Where is Joe based? He's in Washington. No, that's not the good guy. Can we step back? Can we create a new candidate? Yes, we can. Maybe you should click somewhere in the interface. Yeah, bingo. Okay? So you see here, we use all what we have. There is no reason why you cannot create a candidate on the fly, right? Oh, it's me. You mean I'm clever enough to be a DBA? Okay, good. No, I don't give you this. This is privacy. I'm French, so I can talk to my lawyer. There is no way you get that. Next. Where is it? Yeah. For those of you who know France, I'm based in south of France. Even better than Paris. Okay, let's save that one. Okay? Aha, I knew that. They want my email and lots of things. Okay? So, let's stop the demonstration here. We've done, right? I think now it's your turn. You should do that, right? I want you to do this exercise. So, we'll log out and let's do this together. This is exercise number 2. I just want to ensure that when we're going to do this exercise, you're not lost because we have multiple pages and multiple controllers. Okay? So, I guess this is exercise 2. And I guess that we need to create that controller, right? So, we're going to start from the Eclipse and new Apex class. Right? What will be the name? Can't remember, but I guess Job App Wizard. It's the default type, right? It's not a test. Test is coming next. So let's just click on next. Remember, raise your hand, but like this, because if you raise your hand like that, I can see you, but I'm the only one. Right? If you have any trouble, just say that. Okay. Now, you've done a lovely controller. So, I guess it's time to read the second step. That says what? Get access to the file, because we don't want you to create that from scratch. So, can you get access to that Job App Wizard controller text? Yes, everybody? I hope you expand it or extract it, as I said. So just copy and paste everything. Yeah? It's okay? And don't think that will be enough. There's lots of to-dos. Right? Will is a very specialist in to-dos. He writes all the to-dos. Right? No? So, Will is going to replace the to-dos then. No, I told you, you're the specialist. We're going to do the to-dos. So, up to you. All the to-dos are written in the exercises. But I'm going to explain what's going on before we type everything. So, let's just have a look at that controller. Okay? Online, do you have the lines on your Eclipse? Do you know how to see lines on Eclipse? Can you show that to us? So, you need to go into the how you name that? The guide area? Getter area? I'm still French, sorry. And you do a right click. I think the best thing is to watch the screen. And just select show lines numbers. It's key because I'm going to explain that by referring to lines. Okay? Yeah? So, let me have a look. I don't see anything from here. So, what's going on? We start with that public class job application wizard. Then we have a lovely public results with a getter and a setter method. So this is what? This is the way we're going to interact with the end user. This means these getter setters are certainly defined in my Visualforce pages. Right? And it says this. When you get it, if you don't have any results, then generate something and return something. If I continue, I have a lovely to-do, and it says create a property name controller that references the standard controller. So, I'm going to do like everybody is going to do. Oh, where is this thing to do? It's CI, right? We're going to say, please do public Apex pages standard controller. And that standard controller, we're going to name it controller with a get set. That is the way my extension will be able to connect to the standard controller that I have. Okay? Remember, I told you we have to connect. If I keep going, there is a search text on line 18, right, with the getters and setters. It's a lovely search text. It adds the stars if you don't add it, so that we can search for Joe, and we don't need to remember that it's Joey or John or whatever. If we keep going, we have lots of getters and setters, right, for the job application, for the candidate, because now you've seen through the wizard we're going to do lots of things. And remember, we have 3 pages, but 1 controller, so he's in charge of everything. You need to have all the logic you need in that controller. Let's scroll down. Let's go on line, what's the line? 42. I think that one is quite good. This is when we're going to have this property. Remember, the controller is job app wizard. I said if you are an extension, you need a method having the same name as your class. And here we go, job app wizard. And what did we say? Hey, just talk to the standard controller. And later on, if you go on line 44, we said, if there is any job application, I need it. So I will be able to work. Okay? Still with me? Let's scroll down a bit. Oh, there is a lovely line, 56. Public page reference. Do you remember? What does this mean? The controller will certainly do some interaction with the Visualforce pages. If someone clicks on a button, and that button said, go to step 1, that will call that method, and that method will move you back to the page. Which page? The job application step 1 page, the first page, right? I think there is a to-do that says do the step 2. It's very easy to do the step 2. Copy and paste step 1 and replace the 1 with the 2. Why? Because we have to do the same behavior. So we have another one method that is named public page reference step 2 that returns us to the job application step 2. And that's it. I skipped a to-do? Oh, sorry. What was it? Ah, yeah, I was not reading. Okay. Well, that one is good. So let's come back to the to-do that I missed, which is on line 26. Create a Boolean property. So I guess public Boolean should be okay. Called show search. Let's go for that one. That returns a true value instead of null. So I get a get set, and my get will be if what? If show search is strictly equal to null, then I guess they said return true. So show search is now equal to true. Semicolon, and then I guess we should return that value back, because this is the getter. So return show search. Maybe a setters could be helpful too? Yeah? Please? Okay, and a set. We don't want to change any behavior in the set, we just said, get it. Yeah? Still with me? So let's scroll down. Let's see if there is no other to-dos to do. And there we are. Oh, that's my favorite one. We're going to do a separate query here to keep the view state down. Okay, to do, create a method called select candidate that retrieve all the candidate information for a given ID and return the user to step 3. This is a mechanism where I need to take control over the UI. So I guess this is going to be a public page reference, because I'm now in charge of moving people to the step 3. Make sense? We will then create a public page reference that will be called select candidate. After that, as you can see, Will is typing, we're going to make that query. Okay? If I'm too fast, right? If you feel lost, right? In the zip file, there are the solutions. Okay? I'm just highlighting that because in a few moments we're going to save it. And maybe nothing will work, right? So you're going to raise your hand. I will recommend you in that case maybe to copy and paste. There is the solutions. Maybe copy and paste the solution at that time. Okay? So, while I was talking, we had to do that candidate equal, and we didn't type all that select. We just copy and paste it from the line below. Okay? So we get that candidate, we make that query. I guess we need to return something, because they said, please return to step 3. So we will return to a page. Which page? Job app, step 3. Okay? I'll give you some time because you're too fast. You're too good. Okay? So, I guess we should all be on 1D, which is click on Save. Let's try to save, and let's see if that works. It should work. And I just want to highlight some problem that you may have if you do that for real by yourself. There is something funny with controllers and pages, right? I have 3 pages and I have 1 controller. Okay? For those of you who have never created a wizard, or for those of you who have created a wizard, you may have faced that problem the first time. You're going to create a Visualforce pages, like page 1, that is going to use the controller. And on the controller, you start building your logic. And you say, oh, if I click on the next button, I should call the page number 2. When you're going to save, the system will refuse. It says, page number 2 doesn't exist. So you're going to go on page number 2, create the page number 2. But you want in the page number 2 to keep the view state. So naturally, you're going to type standard controller and new extension. And you're going to try to save it. And because the controller is not saved, that page is not saved. To avoid all this conflict, because someone needs to start, that's what we've done. We just created 1, 2, 3 pages before. Why? I will recommend you to never start a wizard from scratch. You should have a plan. You should have a diagram, a web diagram. This is page 1. This is my action. This is all my methods. This is the object I'm going to start to connect with, and so on. So you know where you go. Okay? And then you know that you need 5 pages. And you just go apex, page 1, page 2, page 3, and you just save them. And then you work with your controller and with your pages. That's exactly what we do here. It's kind of best practice. I just want to highlight that one. Okay? That's why I said we already have all those pages, so the controller can move us to the next page. Because this code is compiled on our platform. So we pay attention to everything. And it needs to be good. So you have to be good. Right? So, I guess we're done? No. We just did the step 1. Okay? So, we realized that that was a huge effort. So we decided that we're going mostly to stop here. I'm not going to ask you to create any Visualforce pages from scratch. I'm just going to ask you now to copy and paste the 3 Visualforce pages. Okay? So, we're going to double-click on the first one, Job App Step 1. And same thing, we're going now to come back into the list of pages that we have, and we're just going to copy and paste the content of the Job App Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. Okay? So Will is doing Step 2. And you will see Step 2 is a bit longer. That's why you have that search mechanism inside this one. You can search, but you can also create, so lots of lines of code. Okay? And Step 3. Okay. Well, this is a real hands-on training, right? You have to do it by yourself. Yeah. Okay. You almost done? Yeah? You still with me? You all managed to save all your 3 pages? So that's good. There is one thing we need to do now. We need to talk to all our end users that they're going to need to go into Apex, Job, App, Step 1. I mean, they're going to complain about that. I mean, I guess they should. So what we're going to do now is we're going to log inside the org, and we're going to do what we've done so far, which is we're going to override the new job application button, so that when they click on new, that's all they need to be trained on. And they already know how to click on new. So that's very easy to do. Okay? So let's go to Setup. I guess it's Create, Objects. Remember, it's Job Application. We're working with a job application, and we're just going to scroll down and override the New button. Okay? When you click on Override New button, then you can use a S control. No, I'm not authorized to say that word anymore. You can use a Visualforce page, right? And I need to highlight something that is very, very, very important here, is if you want to perform that kind of action, right? Overriding a new button on a custom object or a standard object, you need to have the standard controller, even if you don't need it. It's requested by the process of overriding the page. It asks to use the standard controller. That's why I will come back on the Visualforce pages. You kind of view our code. But it's very important to remember that. You have to do this. So you have to clearly understand how to do extensions, right? Because this is key. If I want you to remember something from that session is, if you want to create an extension, you need to instantiate and talk to the controller and get the record if you want it. Okay? So, I hope we're going to start with step 1. So let's click on Save. Right? And someone can help here? You have to be patient. Sorry. So, I think it's time to try it. We already tried, but we're going to try it again. This time with you. Okay? So if you click on Job Application again, and if you click on New, this time you should go through that wizard that we have just created in 15 minutes. Yeah? Okay? Is it working for everybody? Again. Finally going to manage to get a job in the US, perhaps. Okay? Ah. I can give you the name of the city, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to write it down. It's Sankana. Have fun. S-A-N-T dash C-A-N-N-A-T. A zip code? No. Zip code is 13760. Okay? So, I would like to do some kind of code review because I still have some very important things to talk about. Can we come back to the controller? Okay? Because I start explaining the beginning of the controller, and I would like to talk about the bottom part. Can we go into the save method? I guess at the end, there is a save. multiple things to talk about that save. First thing is, I think we have two controllers in that pages. We have a standard controller and we have an extension. Do you have a save methods on the standard controller? Yes, by default we have one. Now we just created another one. Woo! Which one is going to fire when you're going to call it? What you need to remember is that by essence, we will always search for the method in the extensions. But pay attention to that. Let's go into the worst case. I'm using one controller, one extension, and another one. Raise your hand, Will. But we all decided to do a save. The first one in the queue will be the first one. So if I said my extension, then Will extension, there will be no way to get access to the save method of Will. It will be always mine. So if you start using multiple extensions, think twice before just throwing them like that, A, B, C. Maybe the order is very important. Maybe you should talk to that guy and say, Will, be a good guy. Maybe you should name it Will save method. And I name myself Mark save method. So then it's a bit safer, may I say. Okay? If we scroll down, I like that line 134. I must confess I'm really in love with that one. Right? Because at the first time I saw that one, I said, why are you doing this? Right? So let me explain what the controller is doing. It's saving the job application. Right? Then we have to move you to the job application view page. I guess that many of you will certainly have done a page with a slash and the job application.id, /e or not. Who will have done that? I would. And I would be wrong. You know what? Because I have some of my friends that did some Apex and Visualforce, and they changed that behavior. So a best practice is, remember, we make the connection with the standard controller. So at the end, we said, hey, it's not my job to view the record. I have that function in the standard controller. And this is very, very important. And here we just say what? Hey, instantiate the controller and ask him to view the record. Which record? I guess the job application one. We don't care. If someone puts some logic after that, oops, we save. Okay? Really pay attention to that. It looks like bizarre, but it's very powerful. You ensure that you just do the minimum. Don't do more than you should. You have two controllers, get the most of each. Okay? So, I guess I have 11 minutes. So I'm going to demonstrate you the unit test. Right? We have done some unit tests in Apex. With triggers? With wizards? Did you have fun doing that? You enjoy it? How was the first one? Yeah? More like that than like this? So, I must confess, the first time I had to do a wizard test, I went straight to the developer.force.com. Because I was looking for some code, because I didn't understand how I'm going to test these wizards, right? I find some code and I start reading the code. And I realize that it's quite complex, right? Because I need to mimic the end user behavior. But programmatically, I'm not authorized to click on new job application. I'm not authorized to field search for Joe. I'm not authorized to click on new. How can I do that? Well, you do it programmatically. How can I do that programmatically? You have to call the method that authorizes you to go to the step 2. Remember that next button that you click on? It's step 1. So you need to call that method. To call that method, hey, you need to have the controller, the extension. So you need to instantiate the extension. But worse than that, the extension talk to the controller. So you have to instantiate the controller also. That's why it's a bit complex. I guess we can have access to this job application test. Oh, let's do it. So I let you create the new Apex class. Let's do that all together. Okay. This time the name is certainly Job App Wizard Test, because you may be aware that all test methods need to have the word test. And that's why, oops, no, don't click on finish. Just change the template to unit test. Okay. It's going to be a test class. And now we can click on finish. They wouldn't have changed anything, but I guess it's best to do that, right? Okay. Now, woo, lovely. You've got lots of commands. The most important one is @isTest. Okay? This means you don't pay attention to the number of lines, doesn't count. Very secure environment if you start doing lots of test methods. Okay, so Will, I'm not willing to do anything by myself. Let's go and grab the test methods. So do you have a job app wizard test class.text? Let's copy and paste everything. And let me describe that just a bit. I was saying we have to instantiate a huge amount of things. And if you look at the line 23, we start instantiating the standard controller. Or we call the method. I'm just going to bypass that. But on line 27, sorry, it's me. I need to clean up my glasses, I guess. On line 27, we start to talk to the standard controller because we need to instantiate it. The next one is line 28. Oh, new job app wizard with the controller. We instantiate the extension with the controller. And then, we can start calling some methods. Yeah, extension.jobApplication is calling my extension, which is your job app wizard class. And you just said, hey, I would like to call that method. What does that method make? Well, I do remember, you certainly do not, but it's just going to collect the job application ID. And also try to find out if you have any positions. Okay? You may be aware that unit test is all about code coverage. And this is wrong. It's not all about code coverage. It's checking if you get the expected behavior. I'm a big fan of all those system asserts. And especially those ones where we start trying to find out if yes or no we go to the right place. So I'm just going to describe that one because it's quite key. You have a system assert equal that says, hey, in your extension, do you have a method named check position? And yes, we do. So please execute it. And check position is doing this. If you have a position ID, what does this mean? This means I'm trying to mimic a behavior. You remember on step 1, you have to type a position. I'm not authorizing you to move to the next step unless there is a position selected. I'm going to try to find out if that works really for real. I'm not providing any position. And I said, let's check if there is a position. And this is a page reference. So I can call, give me the URL. Okay? And if we've had a look at that method, you will see that if there aren't any position, we will be moved back to the first page. So I'm going to say, I get the URL. Let's check if that URL is really the first page. That's why you have that comma, page, job application step 1, get the URL. It's extremely important to go further than this code coverage. This 70% is fun. It forces you to ensure that what you have code works. But you should try. Don't say, hey, I've got 100% code coverage. Yeah, but do you know what you get? No, I don't know. I didn't do any system assert. I must confess that we also do certification. Will and I will judge. And we will refuse your code if there is no system assert. Okay? So you better learn now than once maybe you were saying you would like to be certified, because we will refuse your code. We will say, yeah, okay, you've got 100%, but you don't know where you go. You think you're good. Remember, you're going to get end users. And I must confess, they don't know what they do. So they go everywhere. They're going to jump straight into step 2. Have you done that in your test? Have you tried someone entering straight in step 2? That's the kind of thing we do. We're just trying to see if people are trying to go on the next page. Okay? You get to the point, it's going to be extremely complex, programmatically, but once you understand that you have to mimic that, then you can fully test a wizard. And it's no more complex than doing a trigger. It's the same thing, except that you have to mimic everything. Okay? Makes sense for everybody? I'm not going to go further than that. I will just say this. Try to avoid to do source query. For those of you who have, testing them is very complex. You have to copy and paste 3 lines of code. It takes me something like an hour to find them on our website. But once you get it, just store that somewhere. If you use some source, it's a bit complex. You cannot really test that. You need to mimic the fact that you test that. Okay? So, another one good thing that Will is highlighting is you can run the test. Okay, so let's go and let's run the test and let's see. This is a demonstration, so you should be safe and the environment should be all okay. So, remember to be green, 75% of course coverage. But that doesn't mean anything. Okay? It needs also to be good, well tested. That's why when you launch the test, you get all the logs that are providing on the right corner. I know. And from here, you can see what's going on. Okay? I guess that's it for today for me. Let's come back to the slides. You should go into the developer.force.com websites and grab all documentation. Next slide. But I think you should attend the training. Have you learned something in an hour time? Have you? So what about attending 5 days? Having a single computer, having the time to think about that. Okay? Feel free to attend anything. Before you leave, please, just spend 2 minutes for me. I need you to fill the survey. Will, can you come back into the org, please? Can you all come back and just click on the Home tab? And useful links, can you click on that course survey? And we've done, can't remember the exact name. It's not building, it's, hold on, creating wizard. Okay, creating wizard with PUI. Okay? Oh. Do not submit. Okay? And it's Q&A, so feel free to ask us any questions, please.
We have microphones we can bring around to you.
Are the codes downloadable from the Dreamforce site? The source code for this?
I don't think so, but I have an email address, MKUSTER. I also have some business card. Just send me an email, and I will share the code without any trouble. Okay? Will is just going to write it down, mcuster@salesforce.com. If you don't want to remember anything, I bring some business card. So feel free to have some. Send me an email. And you get that. Okay? If you have a USB sticker, grab it now. Other questions? No? So thank you. So big.
Just a heads up for anybody, if you missed another class today because you were attending this one, we should have some extra materials. So if you want to go to room 102 or 103, depending on what session the room was in, you should be able to pick up those materials there. And also don't forget to visit Maureen in the back for more information on training.